This project was end grain cutting boards. I prefer these because when you're using them, the grain that's facing up towards you splits for the blade, and then when the blade is released, the grains form back together. Whereas if it was an edge grain cutting board, where the grains are moving side to side, you can break the strands, the fiber strands in the board, and they do not move back into position. And the only way to fix this is if you replane the surface to create another clean, flat, unbroken plane. So here I'm getting the right amount of wood per board. I'm making 3. Cutting all the strips. So here I have all 3 groups of planks. So here what I'm doing is I'm creating a coplanar glue edge. I'm jointing a not necessarily perpendicular plane, though the side that is facing down during the glue up doesn't change its plane orientation. Basically we want a coplanar surface on the bottom edge of the glue up. You can see the 2 rails, the 2 clamps there, they're coplanar. So we want to make sure when they're clamped, the bottom edge doesn't lift up or twist in any sort of way, so the jointing of each tangential piece is parallel. Again, not necessarily perpendicular to the bottom surface, so that when the edges come together, they don't force the bottom plane to concave up or down. So the first glue up is done. Square an edge. Now I'm going to cut them again. So I have strips of strips. And the width here will be the thickness of the board. So here I have a couple snaps that I had to re-glue back together. Nothing that can't be fixed. So here I did a brick formation, kind of jig-jag back and forth. Make sure you get enough glue. I just had these 90-cent throwaway brushes. They're great for glue ups. Although I do use a rubber brush now, which is much more cost effective and has less waste. The glue I use in this project is Type Bond 3, which is waterproof, which is essential for cutting boards for obvious reasons. So here we have the final shape of the board. One board, 2 boards, 3 boards. Each are slightly different shapes. So here what I'm doing is I'm creating a flat surface because I don't have a jointer that is wide enough to be able to flatten this whole surface. These boards are gifts. One for my mother, one for my mother-in-law, and one as a wedding present for an old friend that we kind of lost contact with. And we feel terrible about that. Our lives just went separate ways, and we figured this was a nice gift for him and his wife. Here I'm squaring up the final edges. Take the slightest bit off. So here I have some pencil marks so I can evenly distribute the pressure of the sander. And I know how much I'm taking off per swipe. I had to twist it so it stopped falling over. And I pass, more sanding, more sanding, more sanding. Sanding is the most boring part of the whole process. Takes a while. And make sure you collect all the dust properly. Here I'm putting a bevel. Or maybe it's a round over. I believe it was a round over. 1/4 inch radius round over. Now here I have a large bevel, which took off most of the material that I eventually sanded over to have round handles, so it's easy to pick up on the sides. Hand sanding. You can see there I'm rounding over those handles. So the best way to get a real smooth surface is to wet it down after you get most of your sanding done, and then go over it again to get the small fibers, since they stand up when they dry. So here I'm putting a standard beeswax finish. And that's it. Thanks for watching.